And we're back once again with another stimulus check update for you, a daily stimulus check update. And make sure you watch this video all the way through, all the way to the end. That way you won't miss out on a special bonus that I have in store for you there at the end of the video. And make sure you like the video, give it a thumbs up. That way YouTube can promote the video. We can put it in front of more people. Make sure you subscribe below using the big red button and share this video everywhere, as many people as you can. So today we're going to be talking about the stimulus package, the good and the bad, and the second stimulus checks are coming. A $3,000 rent and mortgage help. That's for our second stimulus check update today for August 10th of 2020. Now, basically, this is my take on this whole situation. We're talking about the negotiations that have been going on for the past 2 weeks. We're going to discuss the Republicans and the White House positions in this negotiations. We're also going to discuss the Democrats' position in this negotiation. And we're going to discuss how Trump's executive order may affect these negotiations and our second stimulus check and next stimulus package. And does Trump's executive order mean no stimulus check? And also a little more on the Democrats' position. So basically, positioning, in negotiations is very important. If you have a strong position in negotiations, you can become the absolute winner of the negotiations. And you might not get everything you want, right? But you may be able to get a good deal and be happy with it, what you got. So right now, as you all know, we made the last 2 videos about it. We talked about Trump's executive orders. And because the senators don't want a payroll tax deferral in Trump's executive order to go into effect, they will be more willing to make a deal. Well, basically, when they see, money being taken out of people's checks, and then, they more and more they understand that at the end of the year, all of these Americans will have to be stuck with this big, humongous bill to pay back. And they know that Trump cannot forgive the taxes without congressional approval, right? So that will make them more apt to make a deal. Okay. And as you know, the senators are getting very anxious right now to see a deal come to fruition. Now, Mitch McConnell, as far as these negotiations, they have been going on between the key players in these negotiations have been Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House for the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, Minority Leader in the Senate for the Democrats, and Steve Mnuchin, Secretary of the Treasury, and Mark Meadows, White House Chief of Staff. Well, I believe Mitch McConnell should be in these negotiations and not the White House, okay? Because Mitch McConnell was in the first negotiations for the CARES Act, right? Why shouldn't he be in these negotiations also as well? And he can better represent the Senate than can Steve Mnuchin can, okay, or Mark Meadows, right? And he better represents the Republican position as well. Now, as far as the position of the Republicans and the White House, well, when the Republicans in the White House, when they see Trump's executive orders not working the way Trump had wanted them to work, they will make urgency to get a deal, which in turn gives Republicans and the White House a weaker position. And I'm going to play you guys a video too also as well inside of this video, and as a testimony to that too, something that one of the key players in the negotiations said today on CNBC. Now, as far as the Democrats' position, the Democrats, they see and they have read or are reading Trump's executive orders and Miranda and know that it won't help as many people as a congressional bill passed through the House and the Senate and signed by the president. They will compromise with Republicans, okay? But the Democrats, they know that right now they have the stronger position, okay? And the reason why they have the stronger position is many different things. Is because of one, Trump's weak poll numbers, where he is losing to Joe Biden in many states, including swing states, and many numerous polls by more points than it was showing him to Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. Okay, we're talking about double digits this time, not about single digits like with Hillary Clinton's case in 2016. Okay, so the White House is not at its limit as far as with funding, right? But we're going to get into that I'm going to play you a short clip of that very soon. Now, Trump cannot forgive taxes, as I said before, without congressional approval. So even if Trump does win the election in November, he cannot forgive the taxes without approval from Congress. Okay. So by him promising us that if he's elected, as he did, that he will forgive the taxes, it's not up to him to promise that, really, because if Congress does not agree to that, it will not happen, and it will just turn into an empty promise. Okay. Now, will Congress agree to forgiving those tax payments from the payroll tax deferral from Trump's executive orders? I believe they will not agree to it. And the reason why I believe they will not agree to it is because it takes money out of Social Security. Okay. That's why I believe Congress will not agree and pass any bill for Trump to forgive these tax payments next year or after November, in the case that Trump actually does win. Okay. And now, finally, money for the states, right? And the $600 unemployment or extended unemployment benefits. Those two things are the main disagreement right now in the negotiations between the Democrats, the Republicans, and the White House. Okay. Now, as far as the 600 unemployment, there's been numerous offers for that coming from the White House and the Republicans. We went out over many of those. There's been proposals from the Senate also as well, anywhere from paying $200 a week. Trump's executive order wants to give $400 a week. It was a temporary extension of 1 or 2 weeks that was offered to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, which they turned it down and rejected it, okay, because they don't want a temporary solution. And they also do not want a piecemeal bill, a piece of a big package. They want the whole package passed, and they don't want 10 small packages passed. And they don't have enough faith in the Republicans or the Senate to believe that they will stay true to their word and pass, multiple stimulus packages. They believe that the Republicans will pass one package, one small package, maybe to extend the unemployment for a couple of weeks, and then they will delay, the passing of any other packages, or they may not want to pass any more packages, stimulus packages at all, like they have been known to do since the beginning of this C-word pandemic. Okay. Now, money for the states is also an issue of big disagreement here in these negotiations also as well, because the Democrats, it went from a need of $150 billion for the money for the states up to $400 billion for money for the states, up to almost $1 trillion for money for the states and local governments. And now Mnuchin and the Republicans, actually, there was one Republican proposal from a senator that proposed $500 billion for money for the states. Um, and that's the main disagreement here in these negotiations. The money that the Democrats want, that's the main disagreement, okay? Because the Republicans, Steve Mnuchin in the White House and the Republicans, Mark Meadows, they do not want to spend that much money on the states. They believe that the states still have a quarter of the money that was given to them through the CARES Act that was passed back in March. And they don't believe that, they don't feel like the states need that much money. And they don't want to give money to states that was poorly managed also as well. But here's my take on the money for the states thing. Okay. Money for the states is needed because many states are using money from the CARES Act as we speak. They have been using money from the CARES Act since the CARES Act was passed back in March. If you've been watching our videos here on this channel, we've been talking about rental assistance in different states. We've been talking about, amounts given to residents of states up to $5,000 in rental assistance, mortgage assistance, utilities assistance, financial assistance. So this is the money that the states have been using that was given to them from the CARES Act. Okay. And also hazard pay has also been paid out to residents, to essential workers from the money that was given to the state from the CARES Act too also as well. So now we're just going to get into a little clip here and show you how the Republicans and the White House's position has weakened, and more evidence that the Democrats have a very strong position in these negotiations right now. The Republicans have a very weak position in these negotiations. And let me go ahead and get that clip here ready for you. Right. And this was today on MSNBC. We had Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of the Treasury. So let's listen into that clip real quick.
Well, obviously, there is some limit to what we can borrow. We're not at it now, and the president is determined to spend what we need to spend. The $3 trillion we spent plus $1 trillion more, that's about 20% of GDP. I mean, that's just absolutely historic. And we're prepared to put more money on the table. So there are things, as I said, that made sense to compromise. We've compromised. So we're not stuck at the $1 trillion, but we're not going to go to unlimited amounts of money to do things that don't make sense.
But it's not unlimited. I mean, I think that's hyperbole, Mr. Secretary. How about $3 trillion, $1 trillion? You split it. You go to $2 trillion, or maybe you go to $1.8 trillion. But certainly, if this is a war, we can't split hairs. It's unfortunate.
Jim, we're splitting things that make sense to split. So let me be clear. If I had started at zero and they had started at 10 trillion, would that have made sense to do a $5 trillion deal? Of course not. So you don't just split the difference. What you do is you go line by line. You say, let's agree where we can agree. And you're right, on things where we agree, but we're apart on money, we split the difference. Things like food, I listened to the speaker over the weekend. She's right. We started low on food. We realized there's a lot of kids out there that there's an issue. So we agreed on more than enough money for this year and through most of next year on food. We didn't make long-term policy changes in the middle of COVID. So we did that. And we can go down the list, and that's what we've done. But what we're not going to do is say where there's really bad policy ideas, we're not going to just split the difference.
When are you guys planning on getting back together to talk? Do you have any idea?
Again, I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the logistics of negotiations because I don't think that that's helpful. There's a deal to do if the Democrats are reasonable and want to compromise. And if their attitude is, we'd rather give you nothing than agree on things, then we're not going to get a deal. But I heard Pelosi over the weekend and Schumer, and I think they're willing to compromise. So, again, if we can get a fair deal, we'll do it this week. But the president needed to take action. He's not going to sit around. We left the meeting on Friday. Mark Meadows and I reported back to him that we were nowhere, and that's why he moved forward.
So there you have it. There's an interview with Steve Mnuchin and CNBC right there. And the main thing that I get out of it is really great news, okay? And it also supports my position, or my opinion, that the Republicans in the White House's position in these negotiations are getting weaker. They have weakened more so now than they were before Trump signed his executive order and memorandum on Saturday. Okay. Now, one thing that Steve Mnuchin has said that I noticed is that the White House, from what he said, is not at the limit that they can borrow. And the president is determined to spend what they need to spend. Okay. So that pretty much tells me they can come up on, the offer. Pretty much. They can come up from the $1 trillion. They can even go to $2.4 trillion if they have to. Okay. Which is good news, because that could pretty much seal the deal right now. If they were to go up to $2.4 trillion, that could possibly seal the deal with the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and we could have a deal very soon, okay? Now, what Steve Mnuchin also said is we are prepared to put more money on the table, okay? They said they don't want to go up in price on things that they don't agree on. Okay, so the White House Republicans, they don't want to go up on price on things that they don't agree on. And basically what I believe he's referring to is the money for the states. Okay, they don't agree in spending more money on the states, at least not almost $1 trillion that the HEROES Act, which was passed by the Democrats back in the middle of May, wants to spend on the states. Okay, so they will spend money on the states, but not almost $1 trillion. But in my opinion, from the position where they're at right now, the Republicans and the White House in a very weakened position, they will come up a lot, I believe. And we could be having a deal soon also. And that is for not only because of that reason, for a number of reasons, okay, because Trump's executive order that he signed into effect on Saturday, it won't stimulate the economy, okay? We're talking about a payroll deferral. This is money that the people won't have to pay, until whenever, the end of the year, right? In hopes that Trump will forgive this, which Trump cannot do without Congress's approval. And in my opinion, Congress will not approve of forgiving these taxes, okay, because it drains Social Security, okay? Also, another reason we will see a stimulus package is because the executive order that Trump signed on Saturday, it will backfire on Trump and the Republicans, especially when they see these 30 million people that are at risk of being evicted, that most, a big substantial amount of them actually being evicted, okay? And public opinion turns against the Republicans in favor of the Democrats, okay? And Trump's executive order in that turn will not help his poll numbers, because the best thing in that executive order that Trump had signed is actually the student loan payment forgiveness. not forgiveness. I'm sorry, the student loan payment deferrals. Okay, this is different than the payroll deferrals, payroll tax deferral, because unlike it, the student loan holders do not have a lump sum of money to pay back at the end of the year. Where, in contrast, the payroll deferral, it actually gives people a big lump sum of money that they have to pay back at the end of the year, and which most likely they will have to pay every penny of this money back. So also what I want to share with you guys here, besides that good news, that I believe we're going to have a stimulus check, second stimulus checks given out, and another stimulus package and a deal, is Lake County, right, which is actually breaking news also, is opening its application process up today for residents to get part of federal relief funds from the CARES Act. The funds are for residents who need assistance in paying past due mortgages, rent, and utilities. People who are eligible can receive a maximum of $3,000 according to the county, which expects to provide assistance to about 400 households before the end of the year using the federal funds. Now, to register for the program, you have to go to lakecountyfl.submittable.com/submit, and that's the application portal for you to apply. So just hang in there, people. That's all I got for you. But hang in there. We're going to have another deal. We're going to have another stimulus package. We're going to have the second stimulus checks are on the way. Second stimulus checks are coming. Just keep the faith and stay positive. And make sure you join our Facebook group. The link is inside of the description. It's free to join. And while you're in the description, and you're using the down arrow, of course, here, see other links for free money and other helpful resources. Give this video a thumbs up. Share the video everywhere. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, using the big red button. And from all of us here at the How to Get an 800 Credit Score LLC family, stay safe, be blessed, and we'll see you in the next one tomorrow. Bye for now. My name is Lyndon Baptiste, and on this channel we talk about ways to increase your credit score, build credit, and get approved for the lowest payments on mortgages and lines of credit, travel the world for free, earn extra money with cash back. And if that interests you, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll never miss a single video as we make them.